Hey my friend, it's Duc Tran, and in this episode I would love to share with you how to build Facebook newsfeed using two things. Number one, collection view, and number two, just code. So usually if you have been following my channel for some time now, subscribing to my channel. If you haven't, please subscribe it now. Now, if you have been following my tutorials for some time now, you see that I love storyboard, but because there's only so much that we can do in storyboard, and also it will help us a lot when we learn how to build UI in code, because it will it's kind of like you open under the hood and see what's going on down there, right? So you will learn a lot, and I learned a lot during this process. And in this episode, in this video training series, I would love to share with you how to build this amazing, beautiful Facebook newsfeed app in code. We do everything in code. We learn about not storyboard, but we learn about collection view, about initializers, about properties loaded, about all the advanced script, about AutoLayout constraints in code. We do animation, we do all of those things all in code. So without any further ado, I hope that you enjoy this training. First step, download your starter project that I prepared for you right below this video. There will be a link in the description for you to download the starter project, the complete project, and I will also give you via email a tons of new trainings that I've created for you guys, just via email that I don't send anywhere else. And then you also receive a link to go to a page where I will upload all the trainings for this series in just one page, so that you can follow along the members area, because this training is going to be a little bit longer than the usual trainings. I will break it down into different videos because we do everything in code, so it will be a little bit longer, but you'll learn a lot. Trust me, I really enjoy creating this for you. So number one, subscribe. Number two, download the starter project, the complete project, and the new trainings that I create for you. And now, let's get into the training. Alright, I got my fancy iPhone X simulator on the right and the starter project on the left. So this is the complete project. After we done with this training, you will see that we have a full-blown newsfeed that looks something like this. And then this is the starter project. So you can download the starter project and the complete project in the description, and I will also send you some other trainings so that I will add some values to you too. So if you notice the starter project, it doesn't have a storyboard, a main storyboard, and then inside the main interface of the general settings of the project, I also changed the main interface to be blank because we want to do that programmatically. So in your app delegate like this, I'm going to get our, let's call it a method called setup UI, and we pass in the application of our application right here. Right, we have an application and we pass in this application. Now, of course, this setup UI is a method that we are going to write setup UI, that we need a application. The type is UI application like this. Let's make some space for you. Now, inside here, we are going to do a few things. Number one, we're going to get the window of the app. So to do that, we're going to get UI window equals to UI window, and we need to pass into that the frame of the UI screen that has the main frame, the main bounds like this. Okay, so each iOS app will have a window. Now, in the case of iOS app, which is in this case we use iPhone app, it has only one window. If you see on the Mac like this is one window, this is another window. Alright, then let's call the window dot make key invisible, so that will show the window and make the window the key window. Okay, next up, we want to create a navigation controller to be our root view controller of the window. Now, to do that, the navigation controller, if you look at the, let's say we want to have a navigation controller to be a UI navigation controller like this, and this navigation controller requires us to have a root view, let's see, controller that is it needs us to have a root view controller, right? And then after that, we'll call the window dot root view controller to be our navigation controller like this. Okay? But now over here, we don't have a root view controller for this navigation controller yet. And what is that? So if you look at the complete project, this is the navigation controller. And the root view controller of this navigation controller is going to be this table view right here, the table view. So let's create a new file. This is a, let's use CocoaTouch class, and let's call this guy a subclass of UICollectionView. I was wrong before. This is not a table view. You can use a table view, but here I use a collection view. And let's call this guy NEWSFEED View Controller. NEWSFEED View Controller. Next, we put it over here and we create. Okay, I'm going to delete this thing, and let's delete all of the code here. We don't need these. We'll write that ourselves. Let's delete all of these things too. Okay, so we'll have unit load and this collection view controller. Just that. Okay, so we have the NEWSFEED view controller. We'll control this newsfeed. Now, over here in the app delegate, like this, the app delegate, let's create an instance of that NEWSFEED view controller. So let's NEWSFEED VC, NEWSFEED view controller, to be our NEWSFEED view controller. And we pass in, now because it is an instance, a subclass of UIView controller, then we need to pass into, it has an initializer for the collection view layout. And here, we need to go in and we're going to use the default one, UICollectionView flow layout. Now pay attention here, pay attention. This, if you like make a typo here, if you use UICollectionView layout, you will not see anything. It will not work because you will need to have like a concrete instance of the UICollectionView layout, which is UICollectionView flow layout. UICollectionView layout, not flow. The collection view layout is an abstract class. It means that it is not designed for you to directly create an instance out of it. You need to use a concrete class like this. Okay, so this will give us, we'll implement the method in this flow layout so that it will kind of like create the design, the layout of the collection view. Make sense? Okay, now so here we just pass in the NEWSFEED VC on this. Okay, then we're going to tell the window here. You know what? Actually, we can run the project now and see how it looks like. By the way, let me Facebook. Yeah, so we have the complete project over there, and I can refer to that later on. So this is the app, right? So it works. Now, to make sure that it works inside the NEWSFEED view controller, let's call the collection view dot background color to be like dot red, okay? And then let's have the title to be NEWSFEED, something like that. And now let's run it, and hopefully we'll see the title, the navigation title, change, and the background is red. So it means that this indeed is our NEWSFEED view controller, and that's good, right? And let's change this thing into like UI color with the white is 0.95 and with the alpha is 1.0, like this, and still NEWSFEED. Let's run it. Okay. All right, so it looks good. All right, so now the next step is let's make some navigation bar changes, the color of the navigation bar. So look at this, the color is something like that, and we have the buttons and we have something like that, right? So let's have UI navigation bar, navigation bar dot appearance, the proxy, dot title, the bar tint color to be UI color with the red green. So now this Xcode 9 really bugged me out. So 51/255.0. I'm going to copy this guy. The green is 90 over that, and the blue is 149, and the alpha is 1.0, like this. Okay, and then I'm going to make the application, the UI navigation bar dot appearance dot title text attribute to be a dictionary that has the key of NS attributed string, and we use the foreground color, and the value of this is UIColor.white, like that. Okay, let's build it. Oh, foreground NS attributed string key, like this. Okay, so the key is the foreground color and the value is UIColor.white. Then I'm going to make the application .status bar style to be .light content, so that it has the navigation bar white. And because we set this, let's make sure that in our info.plist we use the view controller based status bar style to be no over here. I think I already said that for you in the starter project, but in your own project, make sure that you set that. Okay, so now let's run it. And here we go. You have the status bar to be light content, and the text attribute here is white color. Okay, and the navigation bar is the Facebook blue, and you can check out the color on facebook.com something. It's like the branding colors. Almost every brand has that. Okay, all right. Now let's the next thing let's do is let's set up some cells here, not the images, not the text, but just some cells, and with some dummy colors on the cells, so that we see in the NEWSFEED controller, and you'll learn how to implement UICollectionViewDataSource. Okay, so number one, over here, let's have a struct and call that identifier, and in here I'm going to use a static let NEWSFEED cell, and the value is NEWSFEED cell. So every time I use this string identifier, we have the Xcode completion, so we don't have to like hard type it. Okay, all right. Now when we have this cell, the first thing we need to do every time that you use a collection view controller in code, if you use that in storyboard, and you you don't have to go through this step right now, but if you do that in code, the first thing is you need to register the cell to the collection view. But to register the cell, you're going to need the cell class. So let's use a class of NEWSFEED CollectionViewCell, and this is a subclass of UICollectionViewCell, like this. Okay, all right, so just leave it there, and then we have an init, and we provide a frame. Override init the frame, like this, and we call super.init with the frame is the frame, so that it's superclass the collection view cell here. It can does whatever it needs to do. And then we call the setup UI method, and in the setup UI, we're going to set up our user interface of the cells over here. Okay. Now, when we build it now, it will says that we require the encoder because we do that in code. So just like this. Okay. All right, now next thing is we need to register the cell. So in the cell class here, in the view.load for NEWSFEED view controller, in the view.load here, I'm going to do the collection view, which is the root view of our collection view controller, .register, and you see register cell class for cell with reuse identifier. Now you also see that there's a nib file here that you can use your own nib, which is kind of like the storyboard for only one single element. Okay, and then you have the view class, all of those kind of things. But here we use the cell class, and to do that we use newsfeed collection view cell dot self, so that we have the class, and then the identifier here is this guy. So identifier dot newsfeed cell, like that. Okay. So now, so we register the cell. Next up, I'm going to have a mark here called mark UI collection view data source. And the collection view data source inside here, I'm going to implement 3 methods, just 3. Number 1, collection view, number of sections, number of items in the sections. And then the second method is number of sections in the collection view. And then the last one is collection view cell for item at the index path. And then it says here, because my font is really big right now, so I'm going to look for the ones that return for us a UI collection view cells like this. And it says, asks your data source object for the cell that corresponds to the specified item in the collection view. So that is collection view cell for item at the index path. Okay, so 3 methods, very simple. Number 1, let's implement the number of sections. Here we only have 1 section, so return 1. Number 2, the number of sections in the number of items in the section. So for testing, let's return like 10. And then cell for item at the index path. So here we will need to dequeue a new cell. So let's cell to be the collection view dot dequeue reusable cell with identifier. And let me have this over here, this guy over here, like that. Let's make some space. So here we need to provide a reuse identifier, and if you remember, there's a struct that we create earlier, the identifier over here, right, which is this guy, and we have the constants, the static constant newsfeed cell. So here let's use identifier dot newsfeed cell for the index path. So the index path here, we use the this index path. Okay, and we actually can cast it as the newsfeed collection view cell, and we return this cell. Okay. All right. Now, if we run it right now, there will be nothing happen because we didn't do anything for this cell. So here, let's call this self.background color to be .red, so that maybe we'll see that thing. So now let's run it and see how it looks like. It's build succeeded, so that's a good sign. Okay, and there we go. So we have 10 items, 10 cells. By default, it is a square like this. So now let's make it so that this cell right here, it will be something like this, right? It will be like full width, and then we'll have some height. Not correctly like this, but we'll have full width of the cell, and then we'll have some height for this cell. To do that, let's implement a method from the collection view delegate flow layout. So I'm going to have above here, I'm going to create an extension for our NEWSFEED view controller. And this is going to conform to UI collection view delegate, not just delegate, but delegate flow layout, which is the delegate object for this flow layout. And then it has a method called collection view layout size for item at the index path. So at this index path was the CG size of the item. Now here I'm going to return a CG size with a width and height. So width is something. Now this width, let's use view.frame.width, and the height is, let's say that is like 400. Okay. Now if we run it, let's see. If we run it right now, and here we go. We have the full width of the cell, and we have a blowing 400 point height for this cell. Now this red color is really hurting my eye right now. So let's change that into like background color to be white. And if I run it, here we go, is running, and we have a little nice separator for that. Okay, now let's add some elements inside this. To do that, I'm going to
cut this code over here, go over there, create a new file, and let's use script file, and we'll call this guy NEWSFEED collection view cell. Put that over here, create the thing, import UIKit, like that, and we paste this NEWSFEED collection view cell in a separate file so that it is cool, because that is, this class belongs to the model MVC, right? So we should have that in a different file. So now I'm going to have, let's have a mark here, called like the UI code, and then the UI code is here, right? And then let's have a mark here called initializers, like this, for the initializer. Okay, now for all the UI code, for all the UI stuff, let's have two things first, just to testing, so that I can show you how it looks like. Okay, number one, I'm going to create the profile image so that it looks something like this, and then we have the username label, this guy over here. Okay, so the same for this guy and username label. So to do that, we're going to add two properties. Number one, let's have a private lazy var profile image view of type UI image view, like this, and we use question mark. I'm sorry, optional, like that, and then like this. Okay, now several things. Number one, why is it private? It is private because we don't want anyone outside of this class being able to access this property. Okay, and the reason for that is later on we are going to only allow anyone who uses this cell to access these properties via the model. Number two, why do we have this lazy keyword here? Now in Swift, the lazy here means that it is lazily loaded. What it means is that if we just have like private var or just var property, profile image view, or let profile image view, right, a variable, if we just have that, it will be created immediately at the time of the object's, the instance initialization. Okay, when we initiate a new instance of this class, these properties, these normal properties, instance variables, will be created along with the instance. But if we have the lazy keyword here, it will not be created. These properties will not be created at the time of the initializer. Okay, what it will be created, the first time that this property will be called. What it means is that it will save our kind of like the resources a little bit, and then we can use this as like computed properties and a lot of things more. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so just keep in mind these two distinctions. So let's create an image view for our UI image view like that, and then we set the image view dot content mode to be the scale aspect fill, like this. And then I'm going to set the UI image view dot background color to be something like blue, so that we see the distinction. Okay, and then I will return this image view to whoever calls this. Okay, number two, let's have another private lazy var for our username label of type UI label equals to another like closure over here. This is a closure, and then let's label to be UI label. Label the number of lines. Let's say here I use 3, so yeah, let's put that 3. And then label the font. I'm going to use UI font dot preferred font style, font style, like that, and let's use headline. Okay, headline. So this is the headline. We use this UI font, preferred font, for the headline. And the size of the font will be decided by the user's accessibility settings. So let's use text to be Duc Tran. Okay, I'm going to use Duc Tran. And then return label, like this. Okay, so looks pretty good. Oh, this is label. Label. Okay, all right, so looks good. Now inside our setup UI here, let's add our subview for the username label, add the subview for our profile image view, and let's have a question, comment here, add UI elements as subviews to the cell. Okay, looking good. Now let's run this guy and see how it looks like, because we have some initial data here. So let's see how it looks like. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. Really? Why is it? So if you look at the asset, like say assets here, I have some images. Okay, so let me set some image for this guy. So image view dot image to be a UI image with the named of like 1. Okay, and if I run it, let's see how it looks like. And can you guess what's the problem here? Because we don't see anything. What's the problem here? Well, it doesn't know what is the size, where is the frame, where is the bounds of this guy, right? So we need to set the size for these elements. And to do that, we're going to use AutoLayout. And this is a great chance for me to introduce you how to add AutoLayout constraints in code, right? So to do that, let's implement an extension for UIView. An extension for UIView. And this let's make that guy private extension so that it is only accessible within this file. And then I'm going to add a function, a method called add constraints with visual format. Now, this is visual format language, which is like the kind of like the syntax for you to add AutoLayout constraint. And format is a string. And we have an array of views. So UIView ... like this, so that we can add as many views as we can, or actually as many arguments that we can. I think it is limited like to 6 or 12 or something. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on how many views are there, like arguments inside this. So I will check the documentation for that. Right, now here let's create a views dictionary for this guy. So this is a type string to UIView, like that, okay? And then for each of the index view within the views.enumerated, like this. So we'll enumerate through this views array, okay? And then we use the dot enumerated so that we have the index and the view. And then what we are going to do is create a key for each of the key value pair inside this views dictionary. So what we want to do is something like this. So we have like v1, the key is something like view1, right? And then v2 is view2, something like that, right? So to do that, let's have the key here is v, and then we use string interpolation and index. So it will be v0, v1, v2. Then we set the views dictionary at the index to be the view, right? Now, we want to enable our AutoLayout constraint. In code, we also have to tell view.translate auto-resizing mask into constraints to be false. Otherwise, it will put all the auto-resizing mask, like the system will resize the constraints from the auto-resizing mask, not from the constraints that you add. So we need to disable that. Okay, then we'll add the constraints. So add the constraints with the visual format, and the visual format here is the format. Okay, and let me use this thing with the options. With the options is NS layout format options, like that. With the metrics of nil and the views is the views dictionary, like that, and build. Oh, cannot subscript of type. This is UIView, yeah. String. Let me see what is this going on here. Cannot subscript a value of type string. Oh, this is string at the index. No, not at the index. At the key, right? So this is string to UIView and views dictionary key. And so let's see what this is. Extra argument options. In call, we do have the options. So all right, so this is like a different method I'm trying to call here. So we need to add the constraints like that with an array of constraints. And then we use NSLayout constraints, NSLayout constraint dot constraints with this visual format. Okay? Or you can do something like this. Let constraints to be this whole thing like that. Okay? So we use NSLayout constraint dot constraints with the visual format here, and that is format, and the options is like that. The matrix is our let's see, the matrix is nil, and the views is the views dictionary. And then we add the constraints for this UI view, the instance, and then we use constraints. Okay? So looking good. So we build succeeded. Now let's use this extension method to add the constraints to this username label and the profile image view. And to do that, over here in the username label, let me set the label dot background color. The image is blue, so label dot background color to be like orange. Okay, and then over here, constraints. Now, be really careful here, okay? Really careful here. You need, when you do auto layout in code like this, if you don't document it well enough, then later on it could be a pain in the ass for you to go back and debug these things. Or you want to add more elements inside these like code, auto layout constraints code here, it will be really hard for you to reread this, and it will take a lot of time. And especially if you work with a team of developers, it will be like even a painer in the ass. So be careful with this, and really like take the time to document these constraints code well. Okay, so here I'm going to tell that, hey, this is the profile image view and the username label, auto layout constraints like this. Okay, and I will add the constraints, which is with the visual formats like this, and then the views. Now the visual format here is a string that we will specify. The views here though is the profile image view, and we can use the comma, username label. Okay, let me open this guy up, and here we go. Let me, oh, by the way, I want to show you like this fancy one, iPhone 10. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Darn it. Hey, yeah, there we go. So I can slide it up like this, and notice that we can actually like put halfway. Okay, a weird little gesture. At this time, I don't have my hands on the 10 yet because it is not even out yet, but I like this, okay? So now, over here, the first thing is we want to add the constraints for this guy. So let's add a horizontal constraint. There's a lot of constraints that we need to do here. The first one is I want to add a horizontal, meaning that like the axis here, 8 point from the profile image view to the margin. Okay, 8 point to the left, and then the width of this profile image view is 44 points. Then 8 points from the profile image to this label. Okay, then this label will be 8 points to the margin of the view. Okay, now so to do that, this is a string, and notice that inside here, okay, we'll call this profile image view is v0 because this is a dictionary with a string and UI view. We pass into this, right? The key here, views index, v index, the profile image view here at the index 0. Inside this dictionary, we will call that v0. Username label, it is v1. And that is what the visual format will refer to, okay? So, very careful when we're typing in this. Horizontal rules, horizontal constraints, and then we have two pipes. Two pipes here represent the left and the right margin of the view, the root view. And then we use the distance, 8 points, like this. 8 point over here, so 8 point between our V0, like that. So this whole thing will represent this profile image. 8 point This is the margin, right? 8 points from the margin to the V0. And we want to specify that horizontally, the width of this guy is 44 points. So yeah, 44. This is within this, okay? 44 points for this V0. Then outside of this, notice outside of this, okay? We're going to tell that, hey, this V0 here will be 8 points. The distance between this guy and this guy is 8 points. Little space here will be 8 points like this with the V1. Now here it is a paren, not the square bracket. And then between this label and the pipe here, it is also 8 points. Okay, you see this? So it is just like some new syntax, and if you do it in code, there's a lot of if you do animation, this is really great. But for the simple stuff like this, usually I would just do that in storyboard. And if you want to do animation, you will have the IB outlets for those constraints. Okay, but here people ask how to do this, so here we go. Okay, next stuff. Let's go on add the constraints with the visual format, and here I will only use the username label. So with this format, I want to tell the label that, hey, vertically, I want this label to be 12 points to the top. So like this, gosh, vertical space like that, and then up to just one pipe because we want to have 12 points to the top. So 12 like that, okay, 2 dash like that, 12, and then grab V0 like this. You see that? And then the views like this. All right. Next up, let's add the vertical constraints for the profile image view. Profile image view. So I want to tell that, hey, this also 12 points to the top, and then the the height of this image is also 44. Okay, and we're going to tell that, hey, the space between whatever the view below here with this profile image view is only 4 points over here. This space here is only 4 points. Okay, so add the constraints. Now I know that I go a little bit slow here because I really want to pounce on this. Okay, I think this is the really only thing that hard in this episode. So I just want to focus really a lot on this guy because you guys ask a lot. So views here. That is the profile image view, right? So the vertical space, 2 pipe, and then 12 V0 like this, and then 4, right? And then here we specify that this is 44 points for the height. Okay, make sense? All right, so that is that, my friend, the auto layout constraints for our profile image view and the username label. So now if we run it, and hopefully it works this time. Hopefully we'll see the little blue and the red, no, the orange. Oh, here we go. We have some arrows. So let's see what's the error. Okay. Oh, here we go. Terminating app due to uncalled exception of this invalid argument exception, and expected a view or a pipe. Okay, a pipe is the root view, and then I'm sorry, the neighbor of that. But this, so this, it should be what? It should be a bracket, not a paren. So if I go back here, see, is the nice thing is the debugging error is really easy to. Here we go. This guy, right? You see, bracket. If we run it. And let's see. Here we go. You see that? Really nice, right? So you see this guy. But by the way, if you look at this, it looks really nice, right? But now here, this image is not 44 by 44. The reason for that is the profile image view here. Let's set this guy image view dot. Here we go. Over here, image view dot layer dot mask to bounds to be true. So that will mask out the bounds of the image view. Now, hopefully it will be a square. Yes, indeed, it is.
Alright, my friend, I hope that you enjoy this episode. It is just the start that we set up the collection view, we set up the view hierarchy, we put in some labels, some image view, and then we learn how to add the auto-layout constraints using visual format language, which is really badass. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. In the next one, we're going to add even more elements inside our NewsFeed collection view cell. I hope that you will enjoy that. If you haven't downloaded the Start project, the resources for this episode and this series, click the link right below this page. Then you enter your name and email so that I can send you all of those resources, the link to the members area for this video training series, all for free. So I hope that you enjoy this one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and as always, my friend, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world. I'll see you next time.